A dusty street at high noon. Two men, hands low over their holsters. A whole town holding its breath. You know this moment. The fastest hand wins and the slow man falls in the dirt. There is just one problem. That street almost never existed. The movies folded 100 grim, ordinary habits into one clean trick and got the most important part backward. So, which trick truly put the most men in the ground? The famous one? Or something plainer that nobody remembered? Now, before we go any further, tap that subscribe button and keep watching all the way to the very end. Because the trick that did the real killing is not the one you would ever guess. By the time we reach number 1, you may change your mind completely. We are not going to the movies for this. We are going to the men who were there, the inquest records, the court testimony, the newspapers that printed the morning after a man fell. Before we count, set the world in your mind, a single-action revolver that cost a cowboy most of a month's pay. Towns where the only law was the closest gun. These tricks were not entertainment to the men who used them. They were the thin line between walking home and being carried there. So let us start at the bottom and climb up to the one trick that swallowed all the rest. Number 15. The empty chamber. This is the trick almost nobody even calls a trick. The single-action Colt that every man carried had no safety of any kind. Load all 6 rounds, take a hard fall from a horse, and the hammer could drop on its own. The bullet went wherever it pleased, through a boot, through a foot. So a careful hand loaded only 5 and rested the hammer on the empty chamber. 5 beans in the wheel, the old cowboys called it. The plainest habits kept more men alive than the fancy ones ever did. Number 14. The reverse draw. Forget the low-slung holster on the hip. In the early days, that rig did not exist. A man on horseback wore his pistol high and turned butt forward and drew it with a twisting reach across his belly. Wild Bill Hickok carried 2 cap and ball Navy Colts this way, tucked in a red sash, no holster at all. He was among the deadliest men the frontier ever produced, and he never owned the quick draw rig you picture. That came later, stitched together not on the plains, but on a movie back lot. Number 13. The bare waistband. Plenty of men carried no rig at all. They shoved the revolver straight into a waistband or dropped it in a coat pocket. That habit came up from Mexico, from the vaquero, the horseman who taught the American cowboy nearly everything he knew. And here, the legend starts to slip. That carved leather rig with the tied-down leg, the one every gunfighter wears on screen, has a name. The Buscadero. It was designed in the 20th century for the movies. No man at the OK Corral ever wore one. Number 12. The border shift. A gunfight is a chaos of seconds, and a man shooting hand is the first thing an enemy tries to ruin. So if your gun hand was hit, or the pistol ran empty, you tossed it across to the other hand and kept fighting. The revolver turned in the air between 2 palms. It saved lives that the famous tricks never could. Number 11. The slip gun. The single-action Colt fired 1 shot for every heavy pull of the trigger, and in a close fight that was slow. So some men held the trigger back with 1 finger and slapped the hammer with the thumb. A few filed down the inner catch so the gun fired the instant the hammer slipped free. A true slip gun, fast, brutal, and dangerous to the man holding it as much as the man in front of him. Number 10. Fanning. Now we reach the first trick the movies truly fell in love with. You hold the trigger down and chop the hammer back again and again with the heel of your other hand, all 5 rounds gone in a blur. It looks magnificent on screen and throws the aim wildly off in life. The men who fought for their lives had open contempt for it. Fanning belonged to the exhibition shooter and the Wild West show, not the alley where a real quarrel ended. Keep our question in mind. The answer is still ahead of us. Number 9. The Second Gun. The two-gun man is one of the great images of the West. Both pistols out, both barrels blazing at once. The truth is plainer than that. A cap and ball revolver took long minutes to reload. In a fight, you did not have minutes. So the second gun was the reload. You emptied the first, let it fall, and reached for the next, already loaded on your hip. A gunman like John Wesley Hardin carried more than one for exactly this reason. Not a circus act. Cold arithmetic about how many lives you could end. Number 8. The Notched Grip. The dime novels gave us this one. A gunman who cut a notch into his pistol grip for every man he killed. Real gunmen mostly knew better. A man who advertised his dead invited trouble, and the rope, both. Bat Masterson grew so sick of collectors begging for a notched relic that he is said to have bought a cheap pistol, carved fresh notches into it himself, and mailed it off to satisfy them. A quiet joke at the legend's expense. Number 7. The Road Agent's Spin. Tombstone, Arizona. The 28th of October, 1880, the town marshal, Fred White, moved to arrest a drunken cowboy named Curly Bill Brocius and reached for his pistol. The gun went off. White fell, mortally wounded, and died within days. The trick is named for what men later claimed Curly Bill did. Roll the gun on one finger as it is handed over, so it spins muzzle forward and fires. But the inquest ruled the death an accident, partly on the word of Wyatt Earp. A marshal dead in the street is fact. The fancy trick that killed him is mostly story. Number 6. The First Shot. Remember this number. Of everything on this list, this is the one that did the real killing, and it is barely a trick at all. The men who survived the most fights agreed on a single, hard truth. Speed meant nothing without aim. The winner was almost always the man who fired first. And did not miss. Get the drop. Stay cold. Place one deliberate bullet where it ends the matter. They had a saying for it on the frontier: take your time in a hurry. We owe the famous wording partly to Wyatt Earp's later admirers, but the idea was older than any of them. Just a steady hand and a calm eye in a moment of pure terror. Hold on to number 6. We are coming back to it. Number 5. The Shotgun. The most feared sound in any frontier town was not the click of a revolver. It was the heavy double snap of a shotgun's hammers. No draw, no skill, 2 barrels that cleared a room at close range and asked no questions. It is the very reason a guard rode beside the stagecoach driver. They called him the man who rode shotgun. On the 26th of October, 1881, Doc Holliday carried one into a narrow lot near the OK Corral in Tombstone. In about 30 seconds, roughly 30 shots crossed a space barely 20 feet wide. 3 men lay dead, Billy Clanton and the 2 McClory brothers. Nothing at all like the long, clean street of the movies. Number 4. Shooting from the hip up close. The duel in the open street, 50 paces apart, is one of the great inventions of the screen. Real gunfights happened at spitting distance, in doorways, across card tables. In the dark mouth of an alley, often the 2 men stood close enough to grab one another before a shot was fired. You fired from the hip by feel and by instinct, and prayed your aim was true. Two frightened men in a small space, hoping to be the ones still standing when the smoke cleared. Number 3. The shot in the back. If you want proof that the fair fight was a fiction, look at how the greatest gunman of them all actually died. On the 2nd of August, 1876, in a saloon in Deadwood in the Dakota Territory, Wild Bill Hickok sat, for once, with his back to the door. A drifter named Jack McCall walked in behind him and shot him through the back of the head. No warning, no draw. The cards that fell from his hand, a pair of aces and a pair of eights, became known as the dead man's hand, though that name came later. The deadliest gunfighter in the West was murdered from behind at a card game. Number 2. The one true duel. Face-to-face showdowns, the kind the movies sell, almost never happened, but once in a great while, one did. Springfield, Missouri, the 21st of July, 1865. The quarrel was over a card debt and a pocket watch Hickok wanted back. The two men faced each other across the town square, not at 10 paces, but at roughly 75 yards. They each fired once. Tutt missed. Hickok did not. His single deliberate shot struck Davis Tutt through the heart. He stood trial and was acquitted. And notice what won it. Not a lightning draw. One calm, careful, deadly, accurate shot. The same lesson as number 6. Number 1. The fast draw. The high noon showdown. This is the trick that swallowed all the others. Two men alone on an empty street. The town gone silent behind locked doors, hands twitching above their guns. Then the blur of the draw, faster than the eye can follow, and the slow man crumples while the fast man holsters and walks away. It is the most famous image the American West ever produced. The fastest gun wins. There is only one problem with number 1. The deeper you go into the record, the papers, the inquests, the court files, the more it dissolves in your hands. That fair and final test of speed almost never happened at all. Go looking for it in the real sources, and you will not find it. The ritual showdown at noon, two men squaring off to see who is faster, is almost absent from all of it. What you find instead is uglier and quieter. Men shot from behind, like Hickok. Men cut down with a shotgun before they cleared leather, like the lot beside the OK Corral. The historians who actually read the files found the same thing again and again. Men like Joseph Rosa, who spent a lifetime asking whether the gunfighter was man or myth. The fast draw duel was real as a rare event and false as a rule. We took the rarest death on the frontier and made it the only one we remember. So who built the legend? 3 sets of hands. First, the dime novelists back east, men in the trade of Ned Buntline, who took a brief and brutal killing and stretched it into pages of heroic gunplay. Then came the Wild West show. Buffalo Bill Cody put fanning and trick spinning and fancy shooting under a canvas tent and sold it as the real thing to paying crowds. And later came a writer named Stuart Lake. In 1931, he polished Wyatt Earp into a flawless fast-draw lawman and floated the tale of a long-barreled Colt, the Buntline special that most historians now believe never existed. Last of all came Hollywood, which fixed the picture for good. The lone street, the clean white hat. Much of what you picture was made in a print shop, a show tent, and a movie lot. Almost none of it was made on the frontier. So here is my answer to the question I asked you at the start. The deadliest trick a frontier man ever used was not number 1, it was number 6. The cold, deliberate first shot from a man who got the drop and did not miss. Not speed, not the draw, just patience and nerve and one well-placed bullet from a man who fired before it was ever a fair fight. The fastest hand was a story. The first hand was the killer, and the men who lived by it were rarely the handsome ones in the dime novels. They understood something the legend never wanted to admit. There is no honor in the draw. There is only who is left breathing. A single action colt cost a working cowboy close to a month of hard wages, nearly $20, when a hand earned about $1 a day. He carried it because the nearest law might be 50 miles and 3 days away. Today, most of us will live our whole lives and never once see a gun fired in anger. We reach old age in our own beds, a thing the frontier could rarely promise anyone. And still we keep the showdown. We keep the clean street, and the fastest hand, and the fair and final test of nerve, because the truth is so much harder to love. The real West did not hand its legends to the men who earned them. It handed them to the ones the storytellers chose. And somewhere, underground that was never marked, lies a careful man who fired first and walked home, and not one soul alive can tell you his name. And if you want the truth behind another frontier story the movies got wrong, the next one is already waiting for you.